anybody who's had a dog or a cat knows that. But there's still some people that question that. And in the first chapter of the book, we lay out some of the neuroscience that shows that, yes, they have emotions. In fact, the subcortical brain systems are the same in all mammals. You know, we have the same brain systems that they have. The difference is we've got a lot more computer power that we filter the emotion through. And the four core emotions are fear, and I can really relate that, as a person with autism, I can really relate to fear being the main emotion. When I was in my early 20s, as I got further and further in my 20s, the anxiety and the panic attacks got worse and worse and worse. I was like a prey species animal. I could really relate to an animal like cattle. And then rage is another core emotion. Separation anxiety. A lot of dogs today have a lot of problems with separation anxiety. You know, I get very concerned about all the dogs today living such a controlled life. In fact, in Fort Collins, you have your dog off the leash off your property, even if he's right there with you, it's a $75 ticket, and the bike cop comes around and he gets you. And you wonder why there's so many dogs with separation anxiety problems. And then the other big emotion is seeking, getting out and wanting to explore. And so you have a behavior problem, you need to figure out what is motivating that behavior problem. And if you have a little gerbil digging, you know, a lot of stereotypic kind of digging, a lot of repetitive digging, sort of like autistic behavior, I'm like, oh, well, give him more dirt to dig in. And the reason why he's digging is because he's scared, because he's exposed. The gerbil needs cover. It's fear. Or another kind of an animal, like dogs are really big into seeking. You know, it might be separation anxiety. You know, go back to the core emotions. That will help you figure out what's causing a behavior problem. Now, I often get asked all the time, did autism help me in my work with animals? Well, one of the things that really helped me, and I talked about this in one of my early books, Thinking in Pictures, was I think totally in pictures. Animal thinking is not language. If you want to understand animals, if you want to understand nonverbal people with autism, you've got to get away from language. It's thinking in pictures. It's thinking in sounds. It's thinking in smells. It's thinking in touch sensations. Animal thinking is very hyper-specific. In fact, in the horse chapter, talk about fear memories. The animal will often get afraid of something he was looking at right at the moment that something bad happened. For example, there was this one horse, he was deathly afraid of long-handled tools, you know, rakes and shovels and things like that. Why was he afraid of rakes and shovels? Because one day he was in the cross ties, you know, tied across, and in a big long lead rope, big fat thick lead rope like this hanging down his, you know, his belly. And when he got in a big panic and he flipped over backwards, he had that lead rope laying on him. So now anything that was long and skinny like that, he became afraid of. It generalized in a very specific sort of way. Another horse was scared to death of white saddle pads. But he was only scared of white saddle pads if they were naked. If the saddle was on top of the pad, it was fine. See, when the saddle's on top of it, that is a different picture. Now, when I was at the Barnes & Noble in Cherry Creek, I think Cherry Creek, I hope that's right. Cherry Hill. Okay, sorry about that. There was a lot of people there interested in autism. And one of them kept asking me, what's some of the most important things in teaching autistic kids? You got to take their obsessions and direct it into something constructive. If a kid likes trains, read a book about trains. Do math with trains. Broaden out that obsession. Also, people on the autism spectrum have different kinds of minds. I'm a visual thinker. I think in photorealistic pictures. My mind works like Google for images. But I'm absolutely terrible at algebra. And there's some kids on the spectrum that algebra is a total disaster, but they can do geometry and trig. And they need to be allowed to go to geometry and trig. Now, being a visual thinker really helped me in my work with animals. Because when I first started working with animals, I discuss this a lot, and this is my book right here, Humane Livestock Handling, really gets into my work with cattle. And I would get down in the chutes and see what the cattle were seeing. Why wouldn't they go up the chute? Well, there was visual detail that they were seeing. Reflections on water, a chain hanging down, seeing a light flashing, seeing a yellow hose jiggling. These are the kind of things that scared the cattle. It was so obvious to me. But a lot of people just weren't seeing it. Then you have another kind of mind in the autism world. It's the pattern thinker. They think in patterns. It's a more abstract form of visual thinking. It's patterns and relationships between numbers. They're often good at music. They're often good at math. And English tends to be their weakness. Now let's say you got a third grader and he's super good at math. And he can do high school math. Let him do high school math. In other words, you may be able to jump way ahead in the area of strength, but in the area of weakness, you're going to have to do special ed. And if you really want to understand the mind of the pattern thinker, there's a book called Born on a Blue Day by Daniel Tammet. And that really gets into the mind of the pattern thinker. And then another kind of thinker is the word thinker. This is the one that knows all the weather statistics. He's just fantastic at weather statistics. Just sort of so-so in math. But we've got to work on strengths. And, you just try to make them all the same. That is simply absolutely not going to work. Now, in getting back to work with animals, one of the big things I'm really concerned about is you need people working on field work stuff. Who's going to be the next Jane Goodall? One of the big things I've been working on right now is transferring the things I know, to the next generation. I'd like to see young people get interested in doing hands-on things. I think it's really good. A lot of people are getting interested in growing their own food. The whole buy local movement. People kind of want to know where their food is coming from. And this is another real big worry of mine. Because what's happening now is a lot of people that are interested in the environment or they're interested in animals, well, they want to become lawyers and sue stuff. Well, if you don't understand what's going on the ground, your policies can have unintended, really atrocious consequences. And I talk about that a whole lot in my wildlife chapter. And I often get asked, you care about animals, how come you still work with the industry? Well, when I started out in the 70s, when I was in my cattle formative years, back in Arizona, the handling of cattle was atrocious. But there were some people that did things right. There was Bill and Penny Porter at Singing Valley Ranch. There were people that did things right. I could see cattle could be really done right. Oh, wondering right here, what's on the email here? Oh, you're taking notes. Okay. Oh, you're taking notes. Okay. Because if you're texting or you're doing email, I ask people to share that email or that text message with everybody in the room. If you're taking notes on it, okay, that's fine. If you're taking notes on it, that's absolutely fine. But if you're texting on it, no, especially in the front row, just really don't like that at all. And now I've kind of lost my train of thought on what I was talking about, so we'll just have to go on and talk about something else. Oh, we were talking about, getting started in the industry. There were people in the industry that really did a good job. Also, there's been a lot of controversy about, feedlots being muddy and bad. They weren't muddy in Arizona. We had 6 inches of rainfall a year. The cattle had good living conditions. There's a lot of things that need to be improved. But one of the things that's happening in a lot of issues is we get further and further away from things. You got the radicals on one side and the radicals on another side fighting each other. What about the big mucky middle? Because that's really where some of the truth is. And so whatever it is you get interested in, you need to find out what's actually happening on the ground so that you don't end up making policy that's just simply not going to work. I think what I want to do right now, because it's pretty crowded and everything tonight, is I want to get some really, really good discussion going so I can answer some of the questions that really interest you, and then we'll sign some books.